Okay, it is May 2nd, and this is our review session in Accounting 201. And we're talking about today's a test review for our exam on tomorrow at 2:30 in C208. So, are you guys able to hear me well? Switch some speakers around.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Is that Talia?
Yep.
All right. So the question is, well, and so I'm just reading the questions in the chat. So will everything that is on the practice exam be on the exam or just some of it? So the ideal scenario is you guys study, you study your practice homework, you study your end of chapter questions where you have solutions, or during the chapter where you have solutions, go through the PowerPoints, make sure you know how to do all the problems in there, understand some of the theory, and then you sit down and take the practice exam. In reality, that's not how most of you study. Most of you start with the practice exam. So what I tell students is, if you have the practice exam completely memorized, you will probably get at least a C on the exam, okay? The exam may be slightly different, organized slightly differently, and that may throw you for a loop if you're just used to seeing a problem in one format. So just be mindful of that. Know what's in your book. Know the Franklin balance sheet, all the accounts, all the categories. Know how to do an income statement. In chapters 1 and 2, that was mostly statements, general theory, and a classified balance sheet. And then in chapter 3, we really got into accounting transactions and debits and credits. And there's 13 journal entries in chapter 3 on my PowerPoints. I'm not sure. I think there might be 12 in the chapter itself, but my PowerPoints have 13. So just be very aware of all the possible questions I could ask. Okay. All right. How long do our essays need to be on the exam? We often, let's make, students typically like to spend a little bit of time on the essays. So it's usually about 5 sentences. You can usually do it all in about 5 sentences, the way I ask you to. Will the trial balance and T accounts be on the exam? They could be, because I don't remember it being on the practice exam. No, I don't think it's on the practice exam, but it is in your Monopoly. Anything related to Monopoly could be on the exam. Any more questions? Let's see. I lost it. Somebody had. Will there be questions about definitions on the exam? So typically I leave those in the quizzes, and I also leave those in when you do your second project, when you do some ratio analysis toward the end of the quarter and you analyze the ratios. That's more with the definitions. All right. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the calendar. I'm going to do a new share, and you guys should be seeing the calendar right now. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. So we're here April 2nd. So midnight tonight will be the last chance you get to work on those practice homework problems. Okay. Oh, Arian, I'm glad you asked that question. For all my exams, no journal entry descriptions are required. Okay, for all my exams, no journal entry descriptions are required. I didn't used to say that, but we found it really slows students down on taking exams. And we decided that unless you're in accounting, you probably won't need to know that. So in real life, you have to have journal entry descriptions because people don't remember why they do a journal entry, but for the exams, it's not required. Okay. All right. So looking at the calendar here, tonight you have the account ID quiz. Has anybody taken it yet? anybody tried it?
No,
Yes.
but I was planning on doing it tomorrow.
Let's do this. Yeah, so the deadline is whoops, I don't want to do that. Deadline is tonight. So let's take a look at that. We'll come back to that. I want to practice that. And then this is our exam on campus, 2:30 tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we have a Zoom extra credit. So this is particularly for online students, but it's really helpful because we're going to be doing in 2 weeks from now, I guess it's 1, 2, 3 weeks, we're doing our annual alumni night. It's a huge event. It's a lovely party. Outside, we hope, 200 people come, about 40 to 50 alumni, and the rest all students. And you eat and you network standing up part of the time. And what's happening this Thursday is it's about how to prepare for alumni night. And so we have this amazing professional speaker, and I would encourage you to sign on and do the extra credit because it's just a really good opportunity for you to learn some networking skills, and it will make you feel more comfortable doing alumni night. And I usually give double extra credit on alumni night. So we really want you guys there. So, okay, Friday, you guys need to organize your team contracts. And that means going back to your groups and saying who's doing what part of the project, okay? So if you click on this, open it up, you guys need to reach out to your teams and do just part 3A, the team contract. And that's just a list of your teammates and who's doing what part of the project 1, which is a PowerPoint video and a video. And then later project 2, which is the ratio analysis. Okay. And then here's a short video on how to prepare a team contract. But I would not go to bed tonight without reaching out to your teams and saying, hey, when are we meeting? Let's plan an hour and let's just hammer out that contract. You only submit 1 per team. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the calendar. I do like to go over deadlines because I think being online, it's easy just to forget them and just look at each day's deadline. All right. And this is the how to network. And let's look at the account ID quiz. Okay, I'm going to have you guys answer this. So I'm going to call out to you. So the way the quiz works is I give you an account, for example, cash. And you say, is it on the income statement or is it on the balance sheet? And then if you know it's an asset and assets are on the balance sheet, then you know that it's on the left side of the accounting equation. And you know that it has to have a normal balance of a debit, because debit's on the left side. Okay. So that would be your correct answer. So let's preview the quiz. Let's see. Let's go to student view real quick. Okay. So there's 20 questions and you only have 5 minutes. But the good thing is this is one quiz you can take over and over again. All right. So I'm going to go and call on your names. And here's question 1. And I'm just going to say, answer this question, Adam. Is building, what statement is it on and what's its normal balance? And do you know if it's an asset, liabilities, stockholders' equity, revenue, or expense? So Adam, do you want to put that in the chat? I can't remember if you have sound or not. Oh, he did put it in the chat. Balance sheet debit. Sorry, I'm wasting our time. Okay. Next, we got to hurry this up a little bit. Okay. Arian, insurance expense. Say it out loud if you can.
It's an income statement debit.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, Jabril, the account is land. Where does it go?
Balance sheet debit.
You guys are doing great. Okay. Retained earnings, Rowan.
Can you hear me?
Say it again.
Stock equity?
It is stockholders' equity. Where does that go? Income statement or balance sheet? I can't hear you. You're on mute. Erwan, can you hear me? We'll move on. Talia, retained earnings.
I believe it's balance sheet credit.
Correct. Okay. And while you're taking the quiz, I think it's telling you your time. Oh, we got almost 3 minutes. We're doing great. Accounts receivable. Talia, I'm going to give you that one again. Accounts receivable.
That's an asset, so it would be income statement debit.
What
No,
statement?
sorry, balance sheet. Sorry, balance sheet debit.
Excellent. Yeah.
I was reading the wrong one.
All right. Arian. Oh, sorry. Salaries expense.
It would be an income statement debit.
Okay. Jabril, office equipment. Can you say it again?
Balance sheet debit.
Okay. And Rowan, accounts payable. I think she's having sound issues. Talia, accounts payable.
It's a liability, so it would be a balance sheet credit, I believe.
All right. We've got a minute and a half. We're doing good. Equipment, Adam. Oh, balance sheet debit. You're ahead of me. Notes payable, Arian.
It would be a balance sheet credit.
Jabril, prepaid insurance.
Balance sheet debt or debit.
Okay, Ramon, if you can hear us, dividends. If you can't, I'll go to Talia. Talia, go ahead.
It's neither.
Yeah, doesn't go anywhere. It's not on the income statement. It's not on the balance sheet. It's on the statement of retained earnings. All right, Adam, supplies expense. And we are down to 23 seconds. We may not finish this. Income expense. Where do expenses go? I'm going to put your answer in and then we'll see what happens. All right, supplies. Arian.
It's a balance sheet debit.
Okay, time's up. Okay, fine. And one more. Oh, we know it. Now it's graded it. So it's saying these are correct. Building is correct. And so forth. And there's one that's not correct. This one. Supplies expenses. Expenses are on the right side of the equation. But remember, we subtract expenses. So it's a debit. Should be a debit. Okay. Supplies. So then cash would be balance sheet debit. Advertising expense, also income statement debit. Interest expense, income statement debit. Common stock, balance sheet credit. Advertising supplies, balance sheet debit, and service revenue, income statement credit. Okay, so that's the account ID quiz. So 20 is pretty fast. 20 questions in 5 minutes is pretty fast. All right. So just be aware that don't worry about the time. You can keep taking it. I give you 10 attempts. If you need more, just ask me. Okay. But we want to make sure we do that tonight. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the practice exam and let's look at your questions about the exam. All right. Okay. So I'll stop share. All right. Oh, we got Isabel here too. Yay. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, can you see this list here on the exam? Hi, Isabel. All right, so on your exam and on your practice exam, list your debits first, then your credits. Common journal entry errors are that instead of putting advertising expense, you just write advertising. Okay. Common, don't abbreviate. You can abbreviate if it's really clear. Like if you want to do something like, if you want to do something like that, I'll know what you mean. You know, I'll know what you mean. So can you see my screen? You can't you? So accounts receivable, accounts payable. I'm just going to shut my door. Hey, Michael.
I had a question.
Okay.
For the journal entries and stuff like that, for the other financial statements, will there be a list of accounts that we can choose from? Or like the practice exam, or will we have to like identify the exact titles ourselves?
So like you'll get a list of accounts and a possible question would be make an income statement or make a balance sheet, but you don't have to come up with the accounts yourself.
Okay.
So it's not, I won't be asking you create the balance sheet without numbers, you know, something like that. That'd be too hard, I think.
Mhm.
And then, let's see. Looking for something here. I'm looking for my practice exam. Here it is. No, there it isn't. Here it is. Okay. All right. So in your practice exam, you guys had like account identification, where you had a whole list of accounts and you just had to tell me whether it was income statement. That's basically the same thing as your account ID quiz. Okay. And then for your journal entries, I did give you a list, but I don't have to give you a list of accounts. Okay. And then here I gave you a list of accounts and you had to create the 3 statements. So, and we're going to talk about the essay in a minute. And then there was just kind of some repeat problems, prepare an income statement, balance sheet, and so forth. So really, really get to know how to do a statement. And then at the end, I have what I call accounting equation problems. So be sure you know how to do those as well. Okay. So let's bring up the practice exam. And I just wanted to ask if you had any concerns or questions that you wanted to go over on that. And then I do want to talk about the essay. Any concerns on the practice exam? Anything that was confusing to you? So like I said, it's okay to abbreviate some of the account titles, but don't make them so short that I don't know what they are. Be sure to write expense after the accounts that say expense. Don't just write supplies. And then here we had, you're going to get a different statement on the exam, and you're going to write about either total revenue or net income. You're not going to write about any other numbers. Okay. So I want you guys to be confident in what is total, what is total revenue? Put the definition of revenue in the chat. Total revenue. And Ari and I can do that. Put the definition of total revenue in the chat. If you were to explain to somebody, what is total revenue? Who didn't know a lot about accounting, what would you tell them? Yes, but you can't use the word in definitions. So can you come up with a slightly different definition? Because they're just going to ask you, Adam, what is gross revenue? The total earned from selling a good or service, all the income from the different services and products a company offers, from customers. Oh, the total from good or services from all the customers, the total revenue from all your streams of income. Let's see. Isabel, let's follow up with that question in a few minutes. Okay, so total revenue for a store would be the money that the customers give when you buy something at that store. Okay, so if I go in and buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks, it will be probably $5. And that's all the customers that buy coffee and merchandise and ground coffee from Starbucks, all those dollars make up total revenue. So this place is, actually it's Lululemon. I changed the name, but total revenue is all the sales from their customers before you subtract anything. Okay. Down here, what is the definition of net income? Because a lot of times we just get into the numbers and we don't really think about what they mean.
Isn't it revenue minus expenses and
That's it. Revenue minus all the expenses.
Hmm.
No. And if you think about it in your personal life, it's you get a paycheck and then you subtract your rent and then you subtract money for food and utilities and cell phone. And it's, do you have any money left at the end of the month? That kind of thing. Okay. All right. So this is the question. Discuss the trends in either, not both, but either total revenue or net income. What is the trend? I want one simple sentence. Okay. I'm going to split my screen here. So let's see. Okay, so how do we write a trend analysis? All right, can you guys see both screens? So sentence one, the trend for total revenue for Coldwater Dairy is what? So let's go back and look, or you can look above. What would you say about the trend for Coldwater Dairy? And
their
you get
income is increasing every year and it's experiencing a positive growth trend?
great. But for the first sentence, just tell me whether it's good news, bad news, or neutral. The trend for total revenue for Coldwater Dairy from, let's put dates in, 2011 to 2013 is favorable. And what Talia just said is it's positive, so favorable. Your other choices would be unfavorable or neutral or inconsistent. In other words, up then down or down then up. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Just a real simple elevator, one sentence speech.
Are we limited to these types of terms or is it flexible? Like if we used a different adjective to describe favorable or neutral?
You can use a different adjective. So give me another adjective. Synonyms would be what? You said positive. Positive is a little bit tricky because we say positive or negative, and some things like if you're in golf, you don't want it to keep going up and growing. You want it to go down. So what's another synonym?
Desirable,
Desirable.
ideal,
I can't spell today. Anybody else? What's another term for favorable? Good news. The trend is favorable. The sales trends are good news. I mean, you could just play around with the language if you want. Just be very clear that you're telling the reader it's good news. Okay. And then the second sentence is, because we're talking about revenue. Now I want you to think about that. They had sales of 711,000. Then it went up to 1 million. Now it's 1,370,000. And they're actually, these dollars are in thousands. So this is really 711 million. 1 billion, 1,300,000,000. Okay, so let's be mindful of that. All right, so the second, now we're going to get into evidence. What's your evidence to support that? What I want from your evidence is numbers and percents. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, what's the difference here? So for example, this could be 2 sentences. From 2011 to 2012, revenue grew by, and then you give me the difference. What's the difference? How much sales growth do you have here? Take your calculator out and tell me what the growth is. You can put it in the chat. What is the sales growth? 2011 to 2012. So we're just talking from 711 to 1 million, Adam, not to, oh, did I say 2013? No, I want 2011 to 2012. We're going to take this 1 year at a time. 289, that sounds right. 289, 135. Now,
can we do percents or exact numbers, or do you want both?
I want both.
Okay,
And then you'd say, or by, and how do we calculate the percent? We would put the percent on the right side, and the calculation would be 289, 135 divided by 711, 704. So this is a real, no worries that, Arian. This is a real, I'm sorry, Adam, no worries. So the growth rate is how much? 40.63. Did anybody else get that?
yeah, I got around that too.
Okay. So whenever you put a percent, I want 2 decimal points. So this is good. I'm glad you did that. Okay. So imagine a 40% sales growth. Imagine you earning 50,000 this year and your income going up 20,000, your salary going up 20,000. That's a phenomenal growth. So that's very good news. You do not need to write the calculation here. I'm just showing it there for your reference. Okay, but that's 1 year. So let's do the second year. From 2012 to 2013, revenue grew by how many dollars? And what percent? How much did sales grow? And that's 369. That sounds right. Okay. 369, 519. Or, and then what's the percent? (36.92%). Again, 2 years of phenomenal growth. And as I told you, I changed the name on this company. It's really Lululemon. Does everyone know what that company is? Anybody not know?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, and that was a real fast growth period for Lululemon. They were just wildly popular. Okay, so so you can see we've got one sentence here and two sentences here. Okay, and then conclusion. Now the conclusion is where you kind of put it all together. You've already told the reader it's a favorable trend, okay? I'm not asking you to analyze any of these numbers in between. I just want you to focus on the growth of total revenue or net income, okay? So in conclusion, so revenue grew at, you could have fun with this, at an astonishing rate for both periods. However, the sales growth slightly declined in 2013 from, let's just be consistent, from 2012 to 2013. You're telling me that you noticed that the first year it grew by almost 41%, and the second year it dropped to 37%. If I had to guess, I'd say we went another year out, it would drop as well. You can't maintain 40% growth rates forever. Okay. All right. So that's 4 sentences. That's what I'm looking for in an essay. A thesis statement. What's the trend? In your thesis statement, name the company and name the period. What are we talking about? We're talking about revenue. Who's the company? Coldwater Dairy. What's the time period? 2011 to 2013. And what's the news? Good news, bad news, inconsistent. Here you're giving me hard facts about the revenue and its trends. So trends are all about calculation. This year minus last year divided by too high. Last year. Okay, that's the formula. So we say, what's the difference here? 289,135, 289,135. You calculate that difference, and then you go to the previous year. Okay, so that's what we did here. 1,000,000 minus 711, 289,135 divided by the last year, the earlier year. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the essay? Okay. Do you guys feel okay doing that? So you just do the same thing for net income. Now think about it. If we're looking at a company, let's get outside the numbers. If we're looking at a company and we're saying, is this company healthy? We're looking to see sales and profit be healthy. And if it may be that the best a company can do is to kind of keep the sales the same level and the profit the same level. But if a company is growing its sales, then profit has a chance to grow. And then the company can reinvest that in more businesses, more stores. So we're hosting alumni night on May 24th, and our caterer is going to be Kazuki Ramen, and one of his flagship stores. And the founder of Kazuki Ramen, the co-founder, was a Bellevue College alumni. Well, he started out with one store. So by growing his sales, he was able to open a second store and a third, I say store, restaurant. Open a first restaurant, then a second restaurant, then a third restaurant. And so from a growth perspective, he now has like 19 stores. So that is, you're going to see a pattern of sales going up, and hopefully his profit is going up too. I can't tell you because it's a private company, but that's what we're talking about. So if sales are going up, which they are for this company, we look down here and we say, is profit going up as well? And we often find that profit doesn't grow as fast as sales. But that's okay as long as we have a positive trend. So you would just take the same format. The trend for net income for Coldwater Dairy from this period is, and then you just redo all of this. Okay.
I'm not
Only-
looking at the practice exam right now. It's in my backpack, but are we expected to do both? It's just one or the other, right?
It's just one or the other. Yeah.
Okay.
Once you've kind of got the concept, and you're going to use this for your project, for project number 2, you're going to use this sort of trend analysis. And then you're going to say, you know, it still looks favorable. You can see it's going up. So we're going to keep that first sentence there. And then here's where you're going to have to change the numbers because they'll be brand new percents. Right? And you'll recalculate all of this. Okay. And then for the second year, you'll do the same thing. All right. Okay. And then you say net income grew at a, maybe you don't want to say astonishing. Maybe it's not that astonishing for net income, but whatever word you use, you want to imply that, yep, this is good news if it's good news. And then just a little acknowledgement about the percent change over the years. Is the percent growing? Is the percent coming down? Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the practice exam? I know, Isabel, you have some questions. Let's see. Where did it go? Here it is. All right. So any other questions here? Common journal entry errors. Oh, trial balance should be in chart of accounts order, assets, liabilities, stockholders' equity, revenue, and expense. Classified balance sheet must have categories and subtotals. I really like the Franklin balance sheet. So bring that up. So let's take a quick look at that because I think it's super helpful. Let's see, dashboard, Wiley course resources. So remember, what I want you to do is, I don't want you guys to just get married to the practice exam. I want you to look beyond that. So let's go find the balance sheet. Chapter 2, classified balance sheet. And here it is, Franklin. And you should know all these accounts, guys. Cash, debt investment or stock investment, or land held for investment, accounts receivable, prepaid insurance, stock investments, long-term. And again, they have to tell you if it's long-term or short-term. Property, plant, and equipment, land, equipment, less accumulated depreciation, intangible assets, patents. So I think the liabilities section's a lot easier. You've got all those payables, and then you've got unearned revenue. And then under long-term, it's just knowing that certain things are long-term. Okay.
I had a quick question about the accumulated depreciation.
Sure.
So I know in our book and like our quizzes and stuff, it gives us like accumulated depreciation and then it tells us like what it's for, like equipment. But in our practice exam, it just said accumulated depreciation and it didn't give us like what it was specifically for, like if it was for land or equipment. So on the test, would it be for just, like would it tell us specifically what it's for?
Can you see it here? Let's see. It's on. like
Yeah.
right here. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't see it, put it under the last one. So you list property, which is land first.
Uh-huh.
You don't list accumulated depreciation under land. Land doesn't depreciate. Then you'd list plant, which would be your building. And then equipment. And if it doesn't tell you whether it's for the building or equipment, just put it under the last one, which would be equipment.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you guys able to access the solutions or are they still locked?
We're able to see it.
You're able to see them?
Yes.
All right, excellent. All right. Well, that's good. Do you have any questions on the solutions? If not, I will go to Isabel's question. Could you go over the last page and do problem 7? Let's answer Isabel first because she's been waiting. Are you still here? Yeah, I'm still here. Hang on. Oh, these are the. Gotcha. All right. Okay, we'll do that. So let's go back to Isabel. Yeah. You ever had one of those tests where there's only, I can sympathize, Arian. He's asking, you guys can see what he's asking. How many questions is the exam? Is making the statements is extremely time consuming. It is extremely time consuming for everybody. And if you're making the balance sheet and you do not balance, just take a deep breath and do as much as you can and move on. Don't get hung up on that because that can be a real time waster. Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to go back and look at Isabel's questions. I can't find them. Let's see. Isabel, can you repeat your questions? And question 8, Jenny wants to go over question 8. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, my question was basically just asking if vocabulary is going to be tested on the test. Like, for example, auditor's opinion and stuff like that.
No, it's not. And we talked about this earlier, but just so you know, I typically put those more in the quiz questions, sort of scatter those through the quiz questions. And then you need to know the vocabulary holistically as you approach the projects, but we're not going to put a lot of them on the test. No, they're not on this test. So
Thank you.
okay. And then question 7 and 8 on the practice exam. Can you guys see the practice exam? Yeah, you should be able to. You guys see
Yep, we
questions?
can see it.
Okay. All right. Let's get. Let's just take one of these. Okay. All right, I'm going to use this as just like a worksheet for this. And I'm going to move this guy over and use this worksheet. Okay, so problem 7, problem 8. At the beginning of the year, Vasquez had total assets of 700. So what I like to do is I like to set this up. And remember, each row has to balance, okay? All right, so at the beginning of the year, and we don't have dates here, I'm just making this year up. They had total assets of 700,000. Okay, there it is. Just make it easier to read. Okay. And total liabilities of 600,000. Okay, so you know total assets. And you know total liabilities. They don't give you common stock, they don't give you retained earnings, but you know I'm going to take those out. I'm just going to call them stockholders' equity. Okay, the total of those two. What is the total of stockholders' equity? If you know assets and liabilities, what does stockholders' equity have to be? 100,000, yeah. Okay, we just calculated that because the left side has to equal the right side. Okay, so that's our beginning, and then we have a problem that says, now, what if during the year assets decreased 80,000? Assets, and remember, we put parentheses around a number to indicate it's a negative. What if assets decreased 80,000? And revenue, now we haven't been talking about revenue, so I'm just going to write this here. Revenue was 200,000 and expenses were 90,000, and there were no dividends. Okay, what is the amount of total liabilities at the end of the year? So this is the question we're asking. Tell us what total liabilities are at the end of year, EOY, right? Okay, so can you guys tell me what the ending of the year balance is for assets? $700 is the beginning of the year, Jabril, but during the year, assets decreased 80,000. So first you have to solve for end of year balance for assets. What is it?
I think it's 620K.
Yeah, you're going to say beginning balance plus the current year activity, and you're going to get 620. Yeah, Ariane, you're right. Okay. So we still don't know what this end of year liabilities are, but we have a little more information about stockholders' equity. We know that revenue was 200 and expenses were 90. So if you know revenue and you know expense, you can calculate net income, right? What is net income? Good, 110. Revenue minus expense, okay? Now, what do we do with net income? Remember when we make the retained earnings statement, we have beginning balance of retained earnings plus net income minus dividends equals ending balance. Well, stockholders' equity includes retained earnings, so we can add that 110 here. We don't have any dividends, so we just put a 0 in for dividends. And now we just calculate the ending balance for stockholders' equity, and we get 210. Okay. Now we know stockholders' equity. Now we know total assets. We can calculate what is the ending balance in liabilities, and that's going to be 410, right? Okay, that's number 7. Okay. Questions on that? Okay, number 8, we can use the same sort of worksheet. If we're going to get rid of our numbers because we have new data, right? All right. Number 8, it's not telling me what's the beginning of the year. Okay, it's just saying during the year, steel company's total assets increased by 25,000. I really find laying it out on a worksheet to be really helpful. Total liabilities decreased 15,000. During the year, the company investors invested more common stock of 30,000. Okay. And the company paid dividends of 15,000. Remember, dividends is subtracted. Okay. And then they're saying, what is net income? Okay. Okay. There's a lot of information here. Okay, first off, let's solve for the net change in stockholders' equity. If we know assets went up 25, liabilities went down 15, what does stockholders' equity have to be? What's the change in stockholders' equity? All you got to do is make an algebraic equation. You got 25 on the left, minus 15 on the right, plus x. Minus 15 plus x has to equal 25.
40K.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. Oh, too many zeros, right? Another way to do it would be to add 15 here, make it go to 0, add 15 here, and you'd get 40. Okay, so now we know that the net change in stockholders' equity is 40. So it has to be, this number has to be 40. We already know that we had an increase of 30, a decrease of 15. So what number do we need here so that these three numbers add up to 40? So, and that's your net income number. So remember, all of these events occur under stockholders' equity. Common stock is under stockholders' equity. Dividends are under the calculation of retained earnings. Net income is under the calculation of retained earnings. And the whole net change for the year for common stock and retained earnings is a positive 40,000. So if you know 30 minus 15 plus x equals 40, what is your x? 25. Aaron says 25. Aaron is right. If you add those up, you have 15 plus 25 is 40. So 25 is the answer. Okay. All right, guys. So I ran over and I've got a 4 o'clock meeting. Do you guys have any last questions?
I have one question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
For the expanded accounting equation, do we have to memorize that or will we be given it on the test?
You will not be given that on the test. What a lot of students like to do is they pick up their test, or they don't pick it up, I pass it out. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. And they immediately at the top, they write asset. Do that, that's dramatic. Assets equals live. And then under that, they write normal balance, debit, credit, 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 debit. And just do that right away.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I will see you guys tomorrow and I'm excited to see you live. And if you have any concerns about location, let me know. All right. And then real quick, Talia, we're going to go in a breakout room. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later, guys. Bye, Isabel.